in the studio. John, thank you very much for coming today.
You're welcome.
Now we've been speaking about you coming on the show for a little while, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
Since I've done it. I've
a long time.
Yeah. The reason I wanted you on is because nearly we've worked together for about 5 years now, haven't we?
Yes.
It has been about 5 years, isn't it? God, where did that time go? And what I actually found is you're always into something. I don't mean that in a bad way. There's always something that you've got that you just have to tell me about, and is inevitably very interesting to me. You've got me interested in Tesla and about the Elon Musk phenomenon.
Yes,
that he is. Got me reading books about him and all sorts of stuff like that.
It's very exciting times.
It is very exciting times. I mean, we can go through a couple of the things that you actually did. So what we got? Elite Dangerous.
Yes. So how many? It was about 18 months ago. Was it
18 months with Luke?
Something like
because
that.
Luke was here as well, wasn't he?
We went into the black,
mm-hmm.
and we had an online session in Elite Dangerous,
which was disastrous.
Didn't last very long. No,
disastrous.
It's a very steep learning curve.
I'm gonna be honest. You left me to die. So there I was with my training wheels on my spaceship.
I was hoping you were going to pick it up quicker.
God, why did we pick it up quicker? For ages, I didn't know there was an auto docking system. You didn't tell me about that one. I ended up crashing into starports or whatever the hell it was over and over again.
It was hilarious though.
So he did that on purpose. But we went because we went into. For those who don't know, Elite Dangerous is a starship simulator in sort of an infinite universe, isn't it?
Well, it simulates the real galaxy that we live in. So every star, every planet, every nebula, every moon is simulated in real time, real space. So you can visit pretty much everything that we know in the known galaxy. Yeah,
because it isn't. It's not like. What's that game? No Man's Sky. It's because that's an infinitely generated fictional.
Yes.
This is actually based on real stars,
So everything that NASA's discovered through astronomy today is in the game.
Okay. Yep. This is what I recall about it. See, this is sounds. When you sold it to me, it sounded like the coolest thing on Earth, like on online playing.
Yes.
But then the thing is with an infinitely detailed space simulator is that it is a detailed space simulator, and if you were in that environment, it would be quite mundane.
It's mundane.
Some of it would.
If it depends what you want to do with it. So you can either do exploring, you can do trading, you can do pirating, or all of the above.
Yeah,
depends what you want to do, really.
So we started off in like kind of a resource dense sort of barrier reef type situation on the edge of a planet where there's lots of AI ships and user controlled ships.
Bad guys.
Yeah, and I had to be very careful because, like, I kind of like tackled it immediately like, well, this is going to be Wing Commander. If you can think right back to the Mark Hamill smash.
Like Wing Commander.
Yeah, like Wing Commander. And so, taking on these ships and everything. The thing is that you don't realise that you actually start with a ship made of tinfoil.
Yes.
That doesn't help. That really doesn't help. Yeah, and then you turn up with your Cadillac of the sky, like with stupid amounts of shields, resources, and laser weapons.
Well, I've been playing it for a while.
I know, but the thing is, when I'm grouped with you,
I guess if it was fair, I probably should have started again, and then we would have been on.
Because when I actually grouped up with you, whatever you attack is like, oh, he's with him, and they'll attack me. Yes. So you were like, oh no, they're coming for us, better run away. I was like, my ship has no engines, what? And I was, it was not, so I kind of, my first experience of it wasn't very good.
I suppose we should have spent some time just leveling up your ship.
Yeah, maybe, but it's not
a.
It's quite a time-intensive thing, though, isn't it?
It was back then. You can
level quite quickly.
You can go up quite quickly, because that was one of the complaints. So they've now adjusted it so that you can get into it better, faster. A
lot of games have done that now to actually get those new players in, haven't they?
Yes.
I know. I found that with Destiny when I jumped back in. I found it a lot. For someone who hadn't played Destiny, because I was teaming up with Ash. He was leveling up so much quicker, and I just thought, well, I had this game years ago, and it's to get to this level has taken a long time.
Yes.
So yeah, it has made a difference. But it is very interesting concept. I'm gonna like put it out there. It's an amazingly complex game. It has a really good community. People should probably check it out. Yeah, if they're into space travel and space flight and the whole fantasy, man, then just get into it.
Yep.
It's definitely good. So you immediately. You told me about that.
Yep.
You told me about Tesla.
Yes.
Now you have a Tesla. You're the only person I know with a Tesla.
I do.
And this is not a common thing for in the UK either, is it?
No, it wasn't something that I was planning on doing myself until I discovered some YouTube videos of Tesla and how they drive by themselves on the motorway.
When was this? When did you discover this?
So when did I do it? 2017. It must have been 2014 is when I first discovered a YouTube video of somebody in America driving on the highway by them with the car driving itself, no hands. And I thought that was absolutely amazing.
So these were early model Teslas, but these were obviously available.
Yeah,
I was trying to remember the timeline.
Literally, in America, they'd been out 2 years at that point. They were just about to come into the UK. They came 2014. So I'd never seen one myself. So at that point, that's when I decided I want one of these.
Yeah. So at 2014, you set out your goal to snag yourself a Tesla.
So I started saving, and then somebody I followed the Tesla forums quite a lot, trying to find out more and more about them, and everyone was who's saving up for one was suggesting, why don't you buy Tesla stock? It'll help you. It's on the up. It's a little bit of a risk, but it's almost certain to go up. Put your savings for the car into stock, and that will accelerate. Your
it's clever
goal of getting the deposit.
Yeah.
So I did that, and after 2 years of saving and the stock rising considerably, almost doubling or tripling in the time that I had invested in it, and enough for the deposit.
Wow.
So I went and got one.
Brilliant. And you've got it. It's actually sitting on my drive at the moment.
Yeah.
What model is it again?
It's a Model S.
So it's a Model S.
2017.
2017. So because you wanted this Model 3, didn't you? Because that's the hype. That's been like a unicorn for a while, hasn't it?
It has.
The Model 3, the affordable Tesla.
It's almost common now. I see them everywhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's 3 or 4 of them in now. So
are they living up to the hype, the promise?
Yes, everything I've seen, it is better than the Model S. Everything that they researched and all the critique of the Model S went into the Model 3. So even though it's a smaller car, it's a more feature-rich, more enhanced version of the S.
But it's supposed to be like a family sedan, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
So it's about the size of a BMW 3 Series.
Yeah.
Whereas the Model S is
it's a sporty
like
car.
An S-Class Mercedes.
Yeah.
It's a lot bigger.
S-Class Mercedes, yeah, okay. But it's also built more as a kind of a sporty car, isn't it, the S?
Well, there's the performance Model 3. That's
right.
Damn quick. It's not to 60 in 3.5 seconds.
I can't get over that. I mean, I've been in your one.
There's a faster one coming out later this year.
They're just amazing. I mean, I'm not the first one to actually say this, because everybody that's probably been in an electric car just goes, how the hell? It's like being on a roller coaster ride, like
in November, there's the Plaid powertrain. So if you're a fan of Spaceballs, when they go to Plaid mode, it's like the fastest speed possible. Yeah. Oh, Elon's a big Spaceballs fan.
Oh, brilliant!
So he first of all brought out ludicrous mode on the Model S, and that does 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. Now there's plaid mode. And they've been testing this on the Nürburgring for the last 18 months, and they've managed to get a stable drivetrain that they're launching in November this year, and that's going to be, they're saying sub 2 seconds, 0 to 60, so 1.9 seconds or less.
That's amazing. And then what's the top speeds on?
It's locked at 155.
So it's locked at 155, and it's all because these cars are very heavily software, kind of like, it's almost like the Apple of a car software, isn't it? It's like locked off.
It is like the
closed
Apple
system.
So this car is always connected to the mothership over the internet. So there is a SIM card built into the car, and every couple of weeks it gets a software update from Tesla with new features and bug fixes and improvements. So the car that I bought 2 years ago has got dozens of new features that I'd never had when I first purchased it.
Brilliant.
So it's every time they bring out a new feature, it almost increases the value of the car.
It's learning.
It can do a lot more than it ever could before.
It's evolving.
Yeah.
It's evolving on your drive.
It's a really weird paradigm of a car, that it can almost go up in value.
But they are 21st century cars, aren't they? That's the whole premise of them. You know, when Elon Musk got behind them, because they were around, that they were a company, weren't they? That Elon Musk kind of came in.
Yeah, but they formed in 2012.
Yeah.
With the Tesla Roadster.
Yeah.
Which they only sold 1,000 or 10,000. Not very many. So they're almost like a special edition vehicle. They
funded
niche.
The company off of advanced orders for the Roadster, which didn't deliver to everyone straight away, did it?
They had many problems with the drivetrain. Many customers had them delivered and had major issues with them. But that was quickly resolved in the first sort of 3 months of them going out, and they never looked back. So the money they got from that, they then developed the Model S, and then the income from that took on the Model X. Yeah. And now we've got the Model 3. Okay. And then later this year, there'll be the Model Y and the new Roadster and the semi truck and the Cybertruck.
Cybertruck, yeah.
So there's tons of new stuff coming out. And that's just the automotive side. So you now got Tesla Energy, which is their battery storage and solar division. Okay. So that's where you have a battery on the outside of your house.
Excuse me a second, I'm just going to throttle my dog. He's got a toy that's just ridiculously loud. Yeah, alright, we know you're there. Just for a little while, please. It's like having a toddler. It's like having a toddler in the house that keeps banging a drum or something like that. So it's really noisy. He always picks that one. Sorry.
So Tesla Energy. So that's where you have a battery storage system on your house with solar panels. Sun shines during the day, charges up your battery, and then when the sun goes down, you then draw your power from the battery, which takes you, in theory, off the grid
to the moon,
and then you don't have any electricity bills anymore. Yeah.
So how's it working out with your one with the
So I don't have a Powerwall at the moment.
No, but with your actual unit, I mean, because that's one of the kind of like drawbacks for people
charging with my car,
charging your car,
right?
Yeah. So because people haven't got the infrastructure yet in the UK.
So Tesla have. So for me, for doing day-to-day commutes, I just charge my car off my house power. So at night time, I pull into my driveway, plug in the car, and then when I get up, I've got a full tank. Yeah. And I can go over 200 miles on that single charge. Yeah. If I want to go long distance to like Scotland or France, the Tesla have brought out the supercharger network. Okay. So every 75 miles or so on the motorway, there's these banks of superchargers that you can pull in at services, and you drive in and you park up for about 20 minutes. You go in, have your wee, have a break, have a snack, and by the time you're ready, the car's ready, and off you go again. And that's another 200 or so miles that you can go up the road until your next stop.
So you have to be quite well. I mean, I suppose it plans out a lot of routes for you, doesn't it?
The car knows where all these Tesla superchargers are. You tell it your destination, and it works out the number of stops, how long to stop for. You don't have to do anything. It literally does all of the planning for you. And there's the Tesla website. If you want to plan off the car, you can do it on their website as well.
Yeah.
So you can sit and plan a really long journey to the south of France, or if you want to go all the way to Moscow, there are now superchargers all the way across Europe to Moscow, if you wanted to.
All the way to Moscow.
All the way across North America, Canada. You can go from North America all the way down to Mexico City. So it's got a huge coverage now.
Oh, excellent. Well, I mean, have you got any kind of big trips that you're going to really test this out? I mean, I know you go to Scotland quite a bit.
I do. I think the furthest I've been is south of Paris. That's as far as I've gone so far. I would love to go to the south of France.
Yeah, that would be good.
Might do that this summer. Love to go and book a villa or something with a nice swimming pool on the south coast of France.
Dump the family, then go off in the car.
Something like that, yeah.
There's a pool there. See you later. Yeah. I'm going to go drive these roads.
That'd be nice. That would be a cool trip.
Yeah.
I'll have to do that maybe this year or next.
So I mean, you bought into it. Are you going to get the Model 3?
I would like to, yeah. I mean, the Model S is a huge car.
Yeah.
It poses challenges when it comes to parking.
Yes.
You've got to do tactical parking, as I call it. You've got to pick your spots well. It's a very wide car, so most of the car parking spaces around here are very tight and narrow. Yeah,
well, we're not used to American designed cars, are we? We're used to kind of like, UK ones.
So I tend to find a corner of a big car park and abandon it there. And then I usually come back and find 5 cars all parked around me. I attract because you almost attract someone hitting your car. Well, it just seems to be that nobody can park in a big wide car park unless there's another car to go up against. So I always find it fascinating that I park miles from everyone and I come back and there's 2 cars either side of me. It's either they're interested in the car and they want to have a look, or they just need to use something to aim at. Look at this dog. He wants to take over the show. Little dear kid, and he normally just sits in the corner, but tonight he's just sort of decided he's going to be a critical part. I've had to literally take his toy out of sight because he's going mad for it. I don't have it. Oh no! You can blame John. It's not my fault. Blame John about it. It's my fault. It is his fault. If it wasn't for me, you would have your toy. No, he wouldn't. I'd be doing something. If it wasn't for you, he'd be in the pub right now, which we will probably go to after this. Bye bye. But he's just obsessed with chewing at the moment, so it's just stupid. But so with the car and everything, that's one of your passions now, because you were Tesla mad for a while. Absolutely Tesla mad. I was. This is what I'm going to get to, because everybody that comes on here, I always interview them about, right, if you would do something for free, like completely free, all the time, for the rest of your life, or at the moment, this point in your life, what would it be? What is that metaphorical man cave that you go to? Well, my biggest passion is aviation and flight simulation. And if I could do that for the rest of my life, that's probably what I would end up doing. Dream. Now, we're very similar in ages. Yes. And I kind of know that you have to kind of start that young. Yes. Or you have to be rich. Well, so that I'm not rich, not anymore, not after buying a Tesla. I'm definitely not rich. You're not rich. But, for me, it started. My dad was... he was a microprocessor engineer. He had his own business, and he had lots of computers around the house and at his place of work. And when I was about 5 or 6, he introduced me to the original Microsoft Flight Simulator version 1.0.
Yes.
It was very wireframe, 4 colours. Only had 3 airports around Chicago, and that's what got me hooked. I would spend hours and hours playing Microsoft Flight
So how
Simulator.
old are you with this?
I was about 6.
About 6.
On a Saturday morning, I can remember going to my dad's work, because he worked all the time when he was building his business. So on Saturday mornings, we would end up spending time there, and he would put me on his computer, and I would fly away on my many adventures in flight simulation.
So this is so you haven't changed very much in that kind of sense, because with the space simulator, it's almost exactly the same kind of format, only interstellar.
Yeah, I mean, that's a different kettle of fish, really. I mean, the Elite Dangerous stuff is more combat. It's more trading and trying to build finances to improve your.
But still, it's an economy in a universe.
Yes.
Where if say for example, if positivity that the human race will actually get to Star Trek level.
Yes.
And we'll all just be having our own spaceships as if they were our own cars.
Absolutely
or they're probably more like Winnebagos. Because I mean, if you think about it, like in a lot of these kind of space simulators and a lot of these role-playing games, it's like, well, where do you live? Well, I'm always in my ship.
Yes.
So I must live in my ship. But then there are people that live in cities and towns, and they go from planet to planet. If you could go from planet to planet, would you live on a planet? Or, that's the thing, would you? Why would you do that? If you can go to any planet and you've got millions to choose from, or thousands to choose from. I think in
reality, if you think about it, it's going to be a very cold and dusty, horrible place to be in space until they've got the ability to visit Earth-like planets. Visiting the solar system is going to be not as fun as people make out to be.
Well, have you seen the latest film Ad Astra?
No, I've seen trailers.
So I've seen it, and it paints a very realistic picture of potentially I would say the technology in it is a lot more advanced, but it doesn't look majorly advanced. It looks like kind of Blade Runner level technology. Virgin Galactic is one of the flights that he takes in it, and it's not that far from the Elon Musk dream.
No, it's our near future. It's like 50 or 100 years from
now. but the planets that we're inhabiting, visiting, colonizing, this is hard work. This is like the frontier. This is it's probably like when America was first.
Absolutely, you've got to either take the equipment to you, or you've got to make the equipment when you arrive. There's nothing up there. There's no food. There's no fuel. There's you got to make it all yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to survive. I mean, this is Elon's dream to make a multi-planetary human civilization to prevent the inevitable big rock coming from space and killing the human race. You've got to create this civilization on multiple planets, otherwise we're not going to survive.
Well, because also that that there is the imminent danger that we're destroying our own planet, and unless we get unless we spread ourselves a little bit more, then it's not going to survive. I can't help but think it's a little bit bleak if someone's going to start their life on Mars or the moon and probably potentially live there the whole of their life. I mean, I'm sure they'll make it nice, like Centre Parks or something like that. It'll be like a domed thing.
Well, first of all, they will create subterranean dwellings in lava tubes. That's the first.
Okay.
step. So there are already lava tubes on the surface of Mars. Lava tubes are basically when the planet was first forming and there were active volcanoes and lava was shooting up from the ground, they created huge tunnel systems that then cooled and left for people to explore and use. So we have to find a reasonable lava tube that will support the first colony that will be underground. So we don't have to excavate and create this tunnel. It will already be there.
Right.
And then you create domes down there, because the problem you've got on the surface of Mars is the radiation from the sun, because the atmosphere is so thin.
Yeah.
Until you've got
there's
a dome that can protect you against that radiation.
Right.
You've got to start a subterranean dwelling.
Because there's no plant life either.
There's not.
No. Even though it's the closest, isn't it the closest to our atmosphere in the solar system?
It has yes.
But
it's
still
mainly
no life
methane and carbon dioxide.
There's water though, is there?
There is. There's water. There's frozen water mainly around the poles. So the North Pole and the South Pole. So one of the ideas is to land near those poles, and then you can excavate that ice for your own use. And then eventually, to terraform the planet, you then create nuclear explosions to melt the ice.
Okay, yeah.
And then that will create oceans.
Yeah.
And you warm up the planet. You then develop crops that generate the atmosphere. And then that's how you get the nitrogen and oxygen to form.
Do you think that, I mean, just kind of think of it as a complete idiot would think of it probably, but with water, one of the main components of water is cell-based organisms and things like that. If you melted that ice, wouldn't there be cell-based organisms in there and potentially create life?
Possibly. Or there may be life in there that we might destroy it by doing the things that we want to do. Right. So they've got to be very careful. But you can't... it's very difficult to discover life in such a vast area of the northern and southern hemisphere. So how do you detect it before you melt it?
Yeah,
that's the trick.
Yeah, I'm glad that I live in an age when people can actually have these discussions at a base level. Can you imagine, 1942, two men having this discussion that weren't like full-time science people? The average bloke down the pub just going, well, about this Mars anyway. Look, if we use nuclear, it's nice to actually be in a time when have that. But I still do think that even with the rate of technology moving, we're still so very far away.
Yes, we are. I mean, the decline of the space race after the Apollo program set us back decades. We would have been on Mars and the Moon.
You said the Apollo program sets back.
Yeah, so the last moon landing was in 1972, and we haven't been back since.
No.
And then the space shuttle came along, and that was a very expensive program. It was to get us into low Earth orbit, and
was that the Challenger program?
The whole space shuttle. So we had 4 space shuttles. We had the Challenger, Columbia, Atlantis, and Discovery. Very, very expensive design. Overly engineered space rocket. And because of the expense of it, that got shut down within 10, 15 years. And then that led on to where we are now with commercialization of space with SpaceX and Amazon and the Russians all competing for their piece of the pie.
But they've made a business model out of something that was just about exploration
They
originally.
have, yes.
With telecommunications it being a big catalyst to that.
But the problem was back in the 70s, because we stopped going to the moon, all the scientists and all the engineers that were on that program retired and left, and all the science and engineering behind how we did it was forgotten.
Right.
So it took us 15, 20 years to relearn what we did back in the 60s. You must
unlearn.
Yes.
What you learn.
Which is crazy. So we would have, if we'd kept going, we would have been on the moon in the late 90s, early 2000s. The fact that we stopped in the 70s set us back big time.
Because you also mentioned to me as well that with the commercialisation of space, I know about people launching satellites, internet-based services, cellular services, all that kind of stuff, getting stuff to in the research thing to the International Space Station, so people can do zero-G experiments and all that.
Yeah.
There's resources on the moon, isn't there?
There is. There's tons of resources on the moon. They've discovered so the moon dust itself has a whole bunch of minerals in. They can make rocket fuel and energy sources from the dust. There's water on the moon. They've discovered. So the is it the Indian probe? They've discovered a whole bunch of pockets of water all over the subterranean surface of the moon. So there's a huge potential for moon bases to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And in 2024, we're going back. So the Lunar Gateway.
2024? We're just 4 years away.
Yeah, so that they're about to... next year they're about to launch the first module of the Lunar Gateway, which is going to be the orbiting space station that's going to be positioned in orbit around the moon.
Okay.
So it's going to be a construction very similar to the International Space Station. So every country or every agency, so you've got NASA, SpaceX, European Space Agency, the Chinese, they're all going to contribute modules and engineering expertise.
And is this going to be building ships out there or kind of a filling station type situation?
It's going to start with the Lunar Gateway. So the Lunar Gateway is going to be the first stop before a lunar lander then descends to the surface of the moon. So it's a more fuel efficient way of getting to the moon.
Yeah.
So there'll be something built in orbit on Earth, something built in orbit around the moon, and then you just go between those gateway stations.
Oh yeah, and those gateway stations have...
And then you have small... So you have small rockets that go up to the gateway stations.
It's like a bus.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that will deliver fuel and supplies. And then that will then be transferred to the main rocket that then goes between the gateway stations.
Clever.
And then there'll be landers that then drop to the moon surface.
Yeah, because the model with the SpaceX with the returnable rocket propulsion system, basically, which is, has saved. I'm still amazed when I see that. It really annoys me when I people are getting very much webbed up in Brexit and political things, and the stories of my uncle. He's a very intelligent guy. He's obsessed with politics and things like that. The biggest thing I said, did you see that SpaceX actually launched like a Dragon probe, which potentially means it can launch astronauts into space at a fraction of the price that it used to?
Yeah.
Don't know anything about that.
No.
Why would you? Because that's human evolution right now. The Brexit thing and the politics thing, and I have interest in politics, everybody's got an opinion. It's happened a million times. These kind of things have happened to governments over and over again, all throughout history. It's not new.
It annoys me that it doesn't make headline news.
Yeah.
When somebody in SpaceX does something.
It's just amazing, because it's like, the original moon landings were a pinnacle event. The entire world watched as we did this.
Yeah.
Now you cannot get people away from their own kind of like local issues, their own country-based issues and things like that. I do understand, and I'm not being insensitive to it. It affects all of us, and if you haven't got if you haven't got interest in politics, or if you don't follow politics, I don't think you should have too much of an opinion about it. But that's just me. You should really know what you're talking about if you're that vocal about it. But I see it as all quite like, well, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because it will just happen over and over again. All through history, we've had this. Sometimes it's evolved into war.
Yeah.
And there is very little upside to war, but, and I put a but, and I'll probably get hammered for this, wars do elevate technology at alarming rates.
Absolutely. Well,
it really does.
Look what happened in World War II.
World War II, the atomic bomb.
That had a huge amount of technology developed.
Huge. Jet propulsion aircraft.
Yep.
The Nazis were the first ones to use jet propulsion. Radar just developed over the road here in Bordsey.
Yeah.
Just down the road, that was developed. Radar, how important? Cameo. Here
Hello.
it is.
Look at me. I'm important.
And we wouldn't have a ManCave podcast without a Loki cameo. I love him. He's brilliant. He's so good the way he does that every time. But yeah, always. But yeah, so I mean, just down the road, that's been developed, and there's been some. You've got to look for the things. There's not much in a war, especially the Second World War. Oh, look at that! Hello. Hey. There's not been much in the Second World War, which I actually say is a positive. So you got to kind of find certain things, but technology is definitely one of them. Pressure and difficulty kind of makes humans excel.
It does,
and that's what's happened with that. So yeah, I get really excited when I hear about that stuff. I get really excited when I start thinking, 2001: Space Odyssey. We're building.
We're not that far
and all
from
that.
And the next 30 years is going to be a huge leap in spaceflight technology with the Lunar Gateway, and then a moon base. Hopefully, a launch platform for Mars on the surface of the moon.
Yeah.
And then eventually, hopefully in my lifetime, I will see a Mars landing and a colony.
Would you go to Mars?
No.
You wouldn't?
No.
So if they just said, right, you and your family, we need you. You know something nobody else does.
It's a very incredibly difficult place to live. It's going to be cold.
And it's a one-way trip as well,
I
think, at this point. What they're proposing is...
And it's fraught with danger. One mistake and that's it. You're living on a knife edge the whole time. No, it's not for me.
No. But, I mean, it's just... I just love it. I absolutely love it. So, I mean, it feels like you're upset. You're kind of like, passion for space has kind of led you to, okay, well, not gonna maybe be an astronaut, but your aviation.
My aviation passion. I mean, from a very early age, I wanted to be a pilot. It wasn't until I was 14 that I had an eye test.
Oh no!
I was discovered that I was red-green colorblind.
Oh man!
And that ended that dream. But I live my passion through flight simulation. I do it all the time, and that's what really excites me. I just love the whole planning.
There you go.
Flights, checking the weather, making sure I've got my weights and balances for my aircraft. I mean, I do the whole real operational flights of an airliner.
Yeah. Because in the simulator you can actually do that, can't you?
You can.
Yeah. You can fly people.
You can literally set up a virtual airline. I know it sounds really geeky, but you can set up a virtual airline. You can have virtual passengers and cargo, and you can set up schedules.
This is all on a computer.
This is all on
simulation.
On a desktop computer.
Desktop simulation.
You can have.
You have a tower.
I have a proper gaming PC.
No, I'm doing.
Oh, sorry, you mean air traffic control?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can there's a online service called
Human manned or AI?
Human manned.
Human man tower.
So there's a
This is amazing.
community of air traffic controllers. They're not. Some are real air traffic controllers. Some are just enthusiasts. But,
so they're doing their day jobs air traffic control, and they're like, I know what to relax. I'll do air traffic control in the evening.
You can rock up at a real airport in the sim, like Gatwick or Heathrow or Stansted, whatever airport you want to pick. As long as they've got an ATC service, you can jump into a plane. You can get your clearance to fly from point A to point B. They'll give you a schedule to depart, and they'll give you like a virtual squawk code so they can track you on their virtual radar.
Wow.
You then have to get taxi clearance, and there'll be lots of other pilots at the same airport as well. So they do what's called VATSIM events. Mm-hmm. So there'll be like 20 or 30 pilots being controlled by virtual ATC.
Right.
So you'll then get clearance to taxi to the active runway, and you'll then take your turn queuing and then taking off as you do in real life at a real airport. Yeah. And then when you're in the sky, you'll then be vectored to your course to your destination, like you would in real life. Yeah. You do your flight across Europe or wherever you want to go, and then you'll then be vectored to the airport. Get your landing clearance.
This is a big community as well.
It's absolutely massive. There's hundreds of thousands of people.
Is there full-time people doing this as well? They're full-time? Because you were thinking of streaming as well. And if you do stream, I will put links for this in the next couple of weeks.
That's something I'm going to dip my toe into shortly.
I think you should, man. I mean, live the dream. Yeah, if you can't... You never know.
I've taken inspiration from you, and there's quite a few YouTubers that I'm getting inspiration from. That looks cool. I could do something very similar. I could stream this.
I mean, it's always a nice thing. I mean, I've kind of reserved myself to just like, well, this is a hobby. It would be wonderful if it was a job and it actually I think anything I would make from this, I'd put into equipment or just making it more comfortable and all this kind of stuff. But if it ever did actually come of anything, that would be wonderful. But you would probably, if you had that situation where you had you were doing that and it was actually making an income and everything, you could probably fund real aviation because you'd have time.
I could.
Because you would do stream, but you would also have time to go and learn how to fly.
If I could get my private pilot's license, that would be a dream come true.
That would be a great vlog.
I've done a couple of lessons, like introductory lessons, and I would love to get my private pilot's license, but it's so expensive. Yeah. So expensive.
A friend of mine's a helicopter pilot, and he's come out the other end of it now. But yeah, it's not.
If I had a supplementary income with the streaming and through my flight simulation, then that definitely would be something I would like to do.
I think one of the great things about online and one thing, is something that is off your own back. It's like it is what you make of it. But it's the communities that I see generated by it. Yeah. That's the thing that's really amazing, because the communities are so, if you're in a positive community as well, for gaming.
The flight sim community is so helpful to one another.
And if you do things like that, just opportunities open up. Yeah.
So even just viewing people live on Twitch or YouTube, and then you join their Discord, you can then ask them questions. You can get interactive help. So if there's something not working with your sim and they've got a similar setup, they will then show you their setup and they'll work through the problem with you. And I've solved quite a lot of problems by tapping into somebody's stream and asking for help, and they'll bend over backwards to help you. It's such a friendly, helpful community.
It's a pleasure, isn't it? If it's your passion, then you're just like, well, this doesn't work. It's not like kind of like fixing a PC. Both of us kind of work in IT, and it's just like we'll fix a PC, but it's not what I would do if I had a better option. No. but I'll be helpful.
The other satisfaction I get from it, I mean, having a real time flight simulation is a lot to set up and getting it all working. There's pieces of hardware that I've got the yoke and yada pedals and flight instrumentation. All that's got to work with the sim and work first time. If I flick a switch or change flap settings on my hardware, it's got to then instantly happen in the sim. And when those things don't line up,
back scratch,
then the plane doesn't fly. So getting all that working is a huge challenge, and that's what I love about it. You've got to get so many moving parts working in tandem.
For those on the podcast, John is being he's getting a back scratch by Loki. Loki's clawing and climbing up him to try and get his attention. I think you've won him over because he was unsure at first, but now he's like, I quite like you. He's looking at you like you're the reason that my toy got took away.
Why have you taken my toy away?
But don't wind him up, because if you get mentioned toy, it would just be like, oh, where's my toy? I totally forgot I didn't have it. Now he remembers. I haven't got it. Yeah. But so what are your next steps to actually get here then? What to get to that level? You've obviously got to start streaming. Starting is the hardest thing, dude. I mean, now that
I think I just need to do it now. I've been procrastinating and putting it
doesn't
off.
have to be perfect.
No,
honestly, dude. I mean, the first 2 episodes of this,
I've got a powerful enough machine now that I can definitely put something decent together. I've got a decent webcam, decent microphone set up, and it's all powerful enough to run the sim at the same time as well. So I think I just need to do some streams. Yeah,
and just start short, dude.
And don't worry that the first few will be a load of rubbish. Just do it and practice. Yeah. I think that's all I need to do.
You do. I mean, just if I've got any advice with a short amount of time, I mean, I've probably shot about 6 weeks of these now. So 6 different sessions, which will be going out weekly. It was so hard to actually post the first one. It really was. I really kind of like chewed it over. It wasn't perfect. The lighting wasn't great. And you'll see it on there and on the YouTube. The video wasn't great. The audio wasn't perfect and all that. I just had to post it. As soon as I posted it, I immediately felt better. And then I've got episode 2 coming out, and then episode 3, and then you can see the progression as well. Like episode 3 is totally different to episode 1.
Yeah.
Episode 4 was a far different conversation, and it will just have that, and this will be different again, and there'll be elements of it I might not like, but you've just got to start. But immediately you get that creative line out, you immediately feel like, oh, I'm doing something, and you feel a certain energy about what you're doing.
Yeah.
But you got to make these small, very small things.
That's right.
Sort of like the piano. I've mentioned this before. It's just like, as long as I do 5 minutes. 5 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but you do 5 minutes a day, and sometimes 5 minutes turns into half an hour or an hour. Before you know it, you've actually done at least 20 or 30 minutes more than you wouldn't have.
That's right. It's just getting the muscle memory and rinse and repeat. And as soon as I start doing it, I think I'll feel a lot better about it.
You will. I mean, you've got family and stuff like that, so it is a bit more difficult. It's more challenging for you. I'm going to be admit. I had commitments and things like that, and I'm feeling a little bit of free time at the moment, and I hope that never changes. Because I'm really enjoying it at the moment. But yeah, it is a massive challenge.
Yeah, it's going to be huge, but I definitely want to make this year. I want to make a good go at it.
Yeah,
see where it takes me.
I'm sure that the son would be quite interested in you becoming a streamer.
I mean, he watches streams himself. He's a huge consumer of YouTube.
Every kid is now.
He loves watching other people playing games.
Yeah.
If he could spend all his time watching YouTube, that's what you would do.
But there's a generation of people.
And maybe
now.
we'll do joint streams where, I mean, we love playing Minecraft together. On a Saturday morning, we spend a couple of hours playing Minecraft. So yeah, we might do joint father and son streams. So,
wow!
Yes.
So this is it, man. This is the next step of the passion, the realization, becoming a real. It's quite funny as well that like, you know, years ago, because I wanted to be a pilot. I had the fantasy of being a pilot when I was younger, but then I suddenly realised you need to be good at school, so that didn't really help me. You need to be quite academic, and I was like, no, I'm not academic at all. So I'm just far too easily distracted. But it's funny how like you kind of like you get to this point in your life where it's just like, oh, you could be a virtual pilot. I'm a virtual pilot. This is something that people talked about, you know, with the big VR rigs. Oh, you'll be able to virtually live like Tomorrow's World or something like that. You'll be able to do a virtual thing.
That is,
there is a virtual economy now.
There is, yeah.
Which is mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, when you read about people that live most of their life in the virtual world, that blows my mind.
What, like the Second Life?
Yeah.
Is it Second Life? Is there other ones? Not the PlayStation one. Do you remember that?
There probably
one?
is. I can't think of what they are. But there are people that are spending all their waking moments in VR.
Right.
They get up and put the goggles on, and they only stop to eat and drink and then go to sleep.
So okay. So what environments are these? What
I guess it's just all the games, really.
So it's just gaming.
Yeah, it's not like real life virtual reality.
But there are these communities, aren't there? I mean, there was a community called Second Life, wasn't there? My friend got really into that. I must actually have him on, because I remember when he was telling me about this, I was like, what is this?
It's still around, Second
It
Life.
is still around, but people they had businesses in it.
Yes.
So again, that virtualized economy, you know, people were selling things, businesses, services. I think one time I looked at it and people doing online university lectures in there in auditoriums that had been created in the world.
Yeah.
I think Katie Mellier had a concert or something that was all hosted in Second Life. I don't know what's happened to it, because a lot of these kind of virtual environments just crumble. They just drop off, and then they just turn off all the servers. Yeah. I don't know if that's the case with that one, but I don't know.
Don't know much about it.
I
haven't dipped my toe in VR yet.
Well, the virtual world it's the simulator, isn't it? It's the
it's huge.
For you, it's the simulator.
Aviation is having a huge effect on VR. So there are a lot of virtual aviators that use the goggles, and X-Plane is a huge supporter of VR. So you can jump in a Cessna or an airliner with the goggles on, and you feel like you are literally there.
So if technology gets to that point where it is like Ready Player One, like the book, and subsequent film, which I didn't like much, but the book was very good. Why would people do it in real life? Why would people push the?
There's still a big problem with VR, and how do you interact with the physical world?
How do you touch, feel?
They've got the sight part of it nailed down almost. How do you interact with physical things? How do you pick up things? How do you interact with switches and buttons?
Yeah, because in the book they had these suits.
They have,
like reactive
in reality
suits.
They've got literally paddles that
are
are still very clunky.
Like the PSVR.
Yeah. And the Oculus Rift have got sort of paddles with sort of thumb joysticks on top of them. Yeah. So it's almost like a Wii controller. Yeah. And to me, that's still...
And also the environment. You're in your living room still.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like...
They haven't developed that ability to virtually allow you to walk in an environment.
But again, does like with space travel, does it need a commercial vehicle?
It doesn't. But if you're sitting in a virtual spaceship, you want to you've got buttons and joysticks and stuff to make your spaceship work.
Yeah.
But if you physically haven't got that in your living room, or not yet anyway, how do they make you feel that you're in a spaceship where you can reach out and push a button and you feel the tactile response of that click or grabbing a joystick? I mean, you can have a joystick in real life. That's what they do now.
Yeah.
But in an aviation environment, you've got an entire cockpit of gauges and switches and buttons that you want to interact with. Now, at the moment, all you can do is use your paddles to point at something, and it draws a line, and you can virtually push that button. But you can't reach out and flick a switch or push a button, look up at the overhead panel and turn some dials.
I suppose if it was kind of like a holodeck level of simulation, why would you go anywhere? You wouldn't need to.
Yeah,
you wouldn't need to go to the moon, would you?
That's the kind of thing that they want to simulate, is something like a holodeck where you can have some kind of physical element that changes with every environment that you're in.
Well, that's kind of like augmented reality then, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Sort of kind of superimposed in the real world.
Yeah.
So, but it's all about wearing gear. It's no good if you wear gear. I think if they put it into a pair of glasses, it might work. Like just a normal pair of glasses. Yeah. But wearing gear is just never.
But that's I think what's holding it back is how do you now interact with the physical environment without a bunch of paddles and joysticks, and could you get gloves that you can feel like you're holding something, or you can feel hot and cold.
Dude, if you can you imagine what would happen to the human race if touch and feeling was actually simulated properly, and people didn't need to go anywhere.
That's taking it to the dark extreme.
They could just log on, and it's I can't remember that there was a film with Bruce Willis, wasn't there? Where they kind of like, just were like robots. Well, there was another film called Gamer as well, wasn't it, with Gerard Butler, and Gamer was like people virtually took over other people, and then put them into kind of a PlayStation home environment, which was just depraved and horrible as these people were being used and everything. Hello. I know. Hello. I'll go see him. So mate, this has been good. I want to hear this. I want to hear how it goes. I want you to come back and I want the streaming to commence.
Absolutely.
We can support each other with this as well, because I can put all kinds of links. Well. There you go. He's supporting you. He's just leaning on him. But we can get some links and everything. I'll put links in the description of this for people that are clicking on it. Share it around and see what happens in the community. I'm sure just in the space travel alone, like this, the developments in space travel, which you've just told me, has already blown my mind. So yeah, that, and I want a Tesla, but who knows? Yeah. But thank you very much for joining me.
You're welcome.
And it's been really great, yes. And thank you for joining us online as well. And goodbye, everybody. Bye.